A video that represents anyone's worst nightmare shows a man visiting the resting place of someone he once knew, when all of a sudden, from inside one of the tombs, something begins to call out to him. Weak tapping sounds can be heard coming from the other side of the wall. Then, as he gets closer, he hears what sounds like a muffled scream inside the tomb. The video abruptly ends, assuming the tomb was later investigated, either finding a person who had been buried alive or simply realizing they witnessed the screams of the dead.
Can you do sounds from Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark? Yes, this is a classic scary story. The story goes like there was a house on the beach that nobody had lived in for several years. Every now and then somebody passing through would stay the night, but they would only ever stay one night, never more than one night. Well, this night in particular, a group of 3 fishermen needed a place to stay, and they just so happened to stumble upon this house. So seeing that it was abandoned, they went inside and laid down in the living room. They began to drift off to sleep, but then they started hearing sounds. They started hearing footsteps from the 2nd story above them. One of the men shouted out, "Who's up there?" And the footsteps completely stopped. Then they heard a woman screaming, and blood began to drip from the ceiling onto the living room floor. They then heard what sounded like a man chasing a woman around, saying, "I'm gonna get you." Running stopped, and then they heard what sounded like a man walking down the steps, dragging something heavy behind him. The fisherman then saw a man standing there, illuminated by light.
This is the scariest story about the online game. One night, a boy named Ryan was playing an online game, when suddenly somebody started talking to him. The person then started telling Ryan that he knows where he lives and said his town and address. Ryan thought it was somebody he knew playing a prank on him, so he started calling the person names. The person then started getting extremely mad, and then he snapped. He then said, "I'm going to kill you," in a very chilling voice. Ryan immediately turned off his game and was kind of freaked out. After a couple hours, nothing happened, and Ryan started to think the person that said this was just lying and he wasn't going to do anything. But suddenly he heard a tap on his window. As Ryan walked over to the window, a chill ran down his spine. He opened the blinds, and standing there was a man waving and grinning at him. Ryan then shut the blinds and ran, but the man broke the glass and jumped into his room. He then lunged at Ryan and grabbed him by the neck and began choking him. Ryan's parents heard the glass break and they ran into his room with a gun. Ryan's dad then shot the man dead. But to Ryan's dad's horror, it was too late. Ryan laid there dead as the man strangled him to death.
Horror movies that will absolutely traumatize you because they traumatized me. The Host. This movie is based on a group of 6 friends who are in a Zoom call. They've been doing Zoom for quite some time now, and all of a sudden a random person joins. But the thing is it's not a random person. It's some kind of demonic spirit that is possessing them through their Zoom call, making them start seeing things, hearing things, and having things fly all across their room. Up until our last character finally loses it. The movie is absolutely insane. Then you have Sinister. The movie starts with our family moving into a brand new house. Everything's been going fine for the first little bit of time, and then the dad goes into the attic. He then finds this old projector with these old films. He starts doing a lot more research into the house that they just bought, finding out that every single family who previously lived there themselves and their families to more or less sacrifice themselves and their family to this demon living on the land. Then you have one of the most traumatizing movies ever created, or this series in general, The Human Centipede. Trust me when I tell you, there is no horror aspect of this. Moral of the story, there's a sick doctor who wants to connect people. He tried to do it with dogs and it didn't work. Then he finds people, kidnaps them, and forces them to do exactly what you see on the screen. And it's just a lot more nasty and gory. I saw these movies when I was really young, so it kind of made me, feel a little weird.
Hi, my name is Sandra, and I wanted to share another story with you. This happened years ago, when I was only 6 or 8 years old. I am currently 19. So one day my sister and I decided to sleep over at my oldest sister's house. At my oldest sister's house, there was a hall to the left and there was a room, which was going to be the room me and my sister would sleep in. The room was small, so it had only a bunk bed. I told my sister that I was scared to sleep on the top bunk, so we both decided to share the bottom bunk. Later that night, when we fell asleep, I woke up because I heard footsteps in the hall, and unfortunately, the room we were in did not have a door. Therefore, I could see into the hall. When I looked up to see who was in the hallway, there was nobody there. I got scared and woke my sister, but she told me to go back to sleep. I tried to, but I just couldn't. So I laid there in silence. All of a sudden, I heard those footsteps again, except this time it wasn't just in the hall anymore. I also heard footsteps in the kitchen as well. A little while after that, I heard plates break, as if someone dropped them, and that woke my sister right next to me. She looked over at me and I shook my head in disbelief. She told me not to worry, that maybe our sister who owned the place was in the kitchen. I didn't believe that, and honestly, neither did she. We both agreed to go check it out, and when we did, we found a plate and 2 glass cups broken. We saw no one in the kitchen, and our other sister's room door was shut. We both knew it couldn't have been her. My sister and I ran back into bed and hugged each other tightly and began to pray. The next morning when we woke up, we told our oldest sister about what had happened, and she told us that they had actually told her someone had died there before she bought the place. It was an old man who died in a fire, and the people who bought the house after he died had it rebuilt and sold. My sister and I got the chills. I was relieved that at least we weren't just hearing things, and that this spirit was real. I asked her if anyone else died in that fire, and she told me no one else that she knew of, and that honestly scared me. Because if it was just the old man that died in that fire, then whose other footsteps did we hear that night? This is a story of what I've experienced with the paranormal. I used to live with my aunt and 2 of my cousins in a small apartment. One of my cousins would sleep in the living room where I slept. Let's call him Jorge. Jorge would sleep on the couch and I would sleep on a blow-up mattress. I remember when it started. He would wake up screaming, saying something was trying to drag him in and wouldn't stop crying. The next morning we asked him what had happened and he responded with something quite creepy. He said he suddenly woke up and saw a black hole forming on the couch, and from the couch, a black hand with claws would reach out and try to pull him in. My aunt would brush it off thinking it was a nightmare until it started happening more often. But that wasn't the only thing that happened. A couple nights later, my aunt saw him in the bathroom with the light off. Keep in mind, it's pitch black and it had to be around 3 or 4ish in the morning. My aunt, being curious, goes over to the bathroom and checks on him. She turns the light on and he starts sort of freaking out, telling her, turn it off, he doesn't like it. My aunt asks him who doesn't like it, like what are you talking about? He points to the top corner of the bathroom and he said he saw the devil in the corner and that it was him who was trying to pull him in. My aunt freaks out and in the morning she calls a priest to come over and bless the house. As soon as the priest stepped foot in the apartment, he says he felt a bad vibe. He starts walking around and goes over right to the spot on the couch where my cousin would say the black hole would pop up, and he said there was something off about it. We came together and prayed. I remember just feeling something like watching, and I just kept praying, and from then on, I can't really recall. I don't remember if they moved, and I moved back in with my loved ones, but now things are different and nothing has occurred, but that was a long time ago, and it still haunts me to this day.
This is why you should always look into the history of a house. A real estate agent by the name Santiago uploaded a disturbing video onto his YouTube page, unlike any of his usual house tours. In the video, Santiago explains that a family had suddenly abandoned one of his properties overnight due to a series of unexplained events. Since the house is Santiago's responsibility to make sure it's looked after, despite his fear of what could be waiting for him in that house, he goes inside. While exploring the living room, Santiago explains that he can smell a foul odor of something decomposing despite the house being practically brand new. He also mentions that the family complained of a strange infestation of flies and other bugs upon moving into the house. As Santiago explores the house, he finds upside down crosses and scratch marks on the walls. Hidden within the wardrobe is a secret door which leads to all of the rooms in the house. But as Santiago is making his way out, this happens. A chair in the living room rocks back and forth on.
A man runs out of gas on a road where cars rarely go by. He notices a motel across the road that looks a bit run down. He walks over to it because he is tired, but there is nobody at the front desk. He notices a door down the corridor slightly open and decides to enter and sleep for the night. As he is walking in, he notices that all of the portraits around the wall are staring directly at him, but he ignores them and goes to bed instantly. When he wakes up the next morning,
Seriously? Hi, my friend. Holy shit. He's standing above the bushes. He, she, whatever. Look how tall that is. Yo, it's white. It's white.
¿Será compadre? No. Our next video comes from the YouTube channel Win MC Pics. The uploader leads us on a terrifying journey through the eerie hallways of their home. They claim to have witnessed doors opening and closing on their own, and to have heard mysterious footsteps while no one else is there. But an absolutely spine-chilling event happens in the same clip that the user shared.
It's just right there. That's new. Okay. Whatever you are, you gotta go. And that's... Yeah, I don't like that. I don't like that at all. Goodbye.
Did you see it? If you look closely in the clip, you will see a shadowy figure creeping across the hall, and just after that, loud knocks on the door can be heard. But what do you guys think? Video was uploaded on a YouTube channel named Tony Nuguara. One of these typical family recordings was made here, in which the uploader captured his little son dancing to some music. But someone noticed that the video appeared to show something different after Tony had posted it to his profile. A second youngster appears to be briefly standing in the rear as his child is focused on something.
Yeah, look at Elijah, go like this. Elijah, hey, like this. Elijah, look at, hey. Elijah, go like this. Were you dancing to some Green Day? Dance, go.